Hello everyone, hope you're enjoying your weekend so far. If I could just borrow a couple of minutes of your time to talk about our most recent lecture and the assignment that I asked you to do over the weekend. So, towards the end of last week, we talked briefly about analytical writing, and we also talked about a strategy that we can use whenever we're trying to analyze a text, whether it be a traditional book or a music video, film, piece of artwork, whatever. It will work for whatever you need it to work for. Just really quick, step one was to choose an element that interests you or that you find interesting, whether it be characters, plot, conflict, theme, etc., anything. Number two was to focus your topic, so always brainstorm. Come up with a question only if a question was not already assigned to you. Number three was to gather textual evidence to support whatever claim you'll be making in your analysis. Of course, number four, you start your writing process, so you always introduce, quote, and analyze. And then last but not least, number five, you conclude. Always make sure you revise for content, and then after your revision stage, make sure you edit for any grammar, spelling, or punctuation errors. So last week, after we talked about our learning strategy, we watched Childish Gambino's Feel Like Summer video. I'm going to ask you guys two questions, which were what message is Gambino trying to convey, and what techniques does he use to convey his message. So of course you use the strategy. Number one, choose an element that you find interesting. A couple of you chose to focus on theme, and you decided that you would either talk about the message that Gambino was trying to send about current relations in the hip-hop industry. And then a couple of people chose to talk about Gambino's message on global warming. Regardless of what you chose, each group followed the steps, So of course you brainstormed, you took some notes on your lyrics paper, figured out what you wanted to say. Number three, you gathered textual evidence. So people who focused on the message on the industry, the hip-hop industry and the state of hip-hop, you guys looked at the video. Some of you talked about the depiction of the different rappers, Trippie Redd and Lil Pump being depicted as kids. Some of you talked about the Travis versus Nicki Minaj beef. Some of you talked about kind of the old heads versus the new generation of hip-hop. So you used the video as your textual evidence, and then you kind of incorporated that into your argument to support the message that you felt like Gambino was sending. My global warming people, you guys did the same thing. Some of you used images and specific moments from the video, while others of you referred back to the lyrics. And just like the other people, you incorporated that evidence to support your argument. Gambino is informing us about global warming, and he is doing it by using these things, by using these lyrics or these images. So now that we reviewed that, I wanted you guys over the weekend to use that same strategy to analyze your caricature. So really quick, let's look at the assignment sheet. It says a caricature is an artist's exaggeration of characteristics, features, habits, flaws, all that good stuff. For this exercise, you will be doing the same thing, except in the form of a self-portrait. So I wanted you to create a caricature that portrays your culture, values, beliefs, and or language. So first and foremost, choose an element that interests you. So out of those things I listed, cultural values, beliefs, and or language, which one or which combination of those things interests you? That's step one. So I personally chose to do culture and language. So then after I figured it out, I proceeded on to step two, which was to focus your topic by brainstorming. So I brainstormed, and you can see an image of my brainstorm that I showed you guys in class. Remember, I said I wanted to depict double consciousness, and I said I'd have one side of the caricature that represented my public self and one side of the caricature that represented my private self. And then I said I would decide to exaggerate those two distinct worlds, distinct experiences, by the use of color, the use of language, and the use of texture. So after I did that, I drew my image, And then of course I proceeded to step 3. So now that my image is done, I need to analyze it, and I need to pull evidence from my image, my caricature, to support my message that I'm trying to make about myself. So here's like a little brief outline of what my full paper would probably look like. So of course there's your introduction, where I would define the caricature. I would answer question 1 and question 2 towards the end of my introduction. And then I would have maybe, let's say, 3 body paragraphs in which I would just reiterate what my message was, and then each body paragraph would focus on a specific method or technique that I use to get my message across. So for example, let's just say I just wrote this really quick before I recorded this video. So I said in my caricature, I use color to inform viewers about double consciousness. As a minority in America, I feel as if I exist in 2 distinct worlds, the public and the private. The right side of the caricature represents my public world. Oftentimes, minorities conceal certain aspects of their identity in order to easier navigate American society. The lack of color symbolizes the absence of my true cultural self. So I end right there because that's all I really had space for on this slide. But I might continue to go on and talk about how on the opposite side, the presence of color represents my true, authentic cultural self that I display around family and friends and so on and so forth. So essentially, that is what I also want you to do. So remember, I brainstormed my image after picking the elements that interested me. I figured out how I would exaggerate those specific elements. And then after my image is all done, step 4, I start to write using my textual evidence from the caricature. And then step 5, which I have not done yet for my little blurb, then I would go back, revise, make sure my content's good, make sure I'm making relevant points, and then after I do that, I would edit for grammar, punctuation, and spelling errors. So that in a nutshell is what I did and what I also expect you to do. A couple of you have been emailing me and contacting me and asking me questions, which is great. If you have not done so and you have questions, please email me or message me on remind.com. I'll be up for a while because I have some other things to do. But good luck with finishing your assignment. X-Day people, I'll see you tomorrow, and I expect your assignments to be completed. Y-Day people, I'll see you Tuesday, and likewise, I expect your assignments to be completed.